This is the PXN V99, a sim racing bundle from PXN that comes bundled with a force feedback wheelbase, a detachable steering wheel, a set of pedals with a clutch, and even an H-pattern shifter. And did I mention that it also works on Xbox, PS4, and PC? Competitively priced at around $230, it's in stark competition to the likes of the Logitech G29 and Thrustmaster T150 and T128. PXN sent it to me for review, and after several hours of use, I have a lot to say about it. So in this review, I'll be going over all the good, the bad, and how I think it compares to its fierce competition. Also, if you're interested in learning more, I've included a link to the cheapest PXN V99 I could find on Amazon in the video's description. But with that said, let's get started. Looking for great deals on sim racing hardware? Make sure to check out simspots.com, where all of the best deals on sim racing, PC, and gaming peripherals are posted daily. Literally, the site is completely free to use, free of ads, and just lets you know of discounted sim racing hardware for you to save some cash. Get into sim racing or upgrade your gear today at simspots.com. For simplicity's sake, I'll start by going over this product's pedals, followed by the shifter, steering wheel, and ending off with the star of the show, the wheelbase itself. Immediately, the included pedals found with the V99 bundle are extremely unique in design. They have stark blue accents creeping out from the bottom, with everything underneath following suit. The pedals themselves are also very unique, with a futuristic/robotic look to them, which I have to admit did grab my attention. Unfortunately for these pedals, their looks are without a doubt their best attribute. Extremely minimal adjustability can be done on them, with no way to adjust the resistance or position on the pedal plate. The most that you can do here is slightly adjust their angle as well as marginally move the pedal faces, so again, not much. When in use, these pedals are comfortable. It has a large and smooth heel rest, which did a great job, and the pedals can be used with or without shoes without any problem. Mounting is facilitated through 4 hard mounting inserts at the bottom, and I can imagine that you won't have any problem just laying them down on carpet or floor and just using them as is, as all 3 pedals have such little resistance. On that note, their in-game performance is underwhelming, but for an entry-level set, similar to those included with Logitech and Thrustmaster bundles, well, they do the job. Hall effect sensors are found in every pedal, which will help with longevity and reliability, and they all have a good travel to them. Unfortunately, getting a good feel from these pedals is nearly impossible, as they have a very dead feel to them, with almost no resistance on the throttle and clutch, and only a tiny bit more on the brake, which I was still able to easily press down with just my hand, just to give you an idea. As a result, this had me constantly locking up on track when using cars with no ABS, and since the throttle is so easy to push down, I did find myself spinning out more times than I would have liked. Now, of course, I could imagine myself getting a little bit more used to them as time went on, but for the time being, they are all more just about the looks. At the end of the day though, for an entry-level pedal set that comes included with everything else, they perform as I would expect, and if anything, it's also great to see that they come with a clutch and do look pretty good, this being something that I certainly can't say about the Thrustmaster offerings that this is competing against. Moving on, one of the most interesting and unique things that come bundled with this set is going to be the H-pattern shifter. Similar with the pedals though, considering they come bundled with everything else at this low of a price, it's not going to be anything extraordinary. If anything, it's quite the opposite. Nearly identical in design to the Logitech driving force shifter, this one from PXN is made entirely from plastic, features a gated 6-speed mechanism, and 2 additional buttons that can be mapped in-game. Reverse gear can be accessed on the shifter by pushing down on the knob and slotting it into the 6th gear slot, and mounting can be done using the included table clamp, which has a big enough range to accommodate most desks and shifter plates. The bronze accents give this shifter a premium look, but that's about it when it comes to anything upscale. The build quality here isn't the best, with a very short shifter rod and an entirely plastic knob that even wiggles side to side just when gripped in the palm of my hand. As you could imagine, the shifting feel is also nothing to brag about. There is extremely little resistance when flowing through the gears, and all of them are very close to each other, and it's certainly not anything made with immersion or realism in mind. However, what this shifter is made for is just for fun. At the end of the day, regardless of its poor quality and feel, it was still fun to have the action of shifting through the gears when just looking to have a good time. Now, I would never use or recommend that anybody use this when racing competitively. Trust me, just use the paddle shifters. But if you're just cruising and looking to have a good time, it ultimately does do the job, and I found myself having quite a bit of fun too. It's also worth noting that the shifter clamp did do a good job at firmly maintaining the shifter in place, and even the two mappable buttons were a very nice and handy touch, and something that neither Logitech or Thrustmaster offers in their respective H-pattern shifters. So my ultimate assessment of the shifter is that it's not great at all, but at least it's something, and at least it's included. Something that, again, the competition doesn't do. Now moving on to the steering wheel, surprisingly this is something where I think PXN just did a little bit too much. Though it's entirely based on personal preference, I don't like the look of it, and the two columns it has leading up to its center plate even negatively impacted my in-game performance, something that I'll speak more about soon. But anyways, the quality here is actually pretty decent. Starting off, this is a 300mm rim, which immediately feels bigger and easier to use than the 270mm diameter rims of the G29 and the T150. Moreover, it's wrapped with a very grippy rubber material, which provided a comfortable sweat resistance in-game feel. Functionality is okay with 14 mappable buttons on the faceplate, all of which have a feeling nearly identical to, say, something like an Xbox controller. I think that having at least one rotary encoder here would have gone a long way, but instead PXN opted to include not just clutch paddles on the back, but also a detachable quick release system. The QR system here works similarly to the ones used by Thrustmaster in the sense that you have to hand tighten it in, but that's expected at this price point. Back here, the paddle shifters are also okay. They have a metallic finish which looks nice, and they have a very clicky action and noticeable noise to them, making it very clear when you have pressed them. On the contrary, the clutch paddles here have a very mushy feel, and it's certainly not anything to write home about, but at least they're included. One thing that I really don't like about this paddle shifter module, however, is going to be their placement. Being so close to each other, I found myself accidentally pressing the clutch paddle when trying to up or downshift, so I really wish PXN would have just placed it slightly lower than it currently is. I also wish they were a little bit quieter, but that's more of a nitpick than anything else. In-game and out on track, this steering wheel did a good job. Like I said, the rim is comfortable and of good thickness, and mixed with its rubber finish gave me loads of grip. Its 300mm diameter was also very commendable, along with the placement of all the buttons, none of which were particularly hard to reach. Undoubtedly, my biggest gripe with this wheel though are going to be the top handles, which not only make the wheel look bad, but genuinely got in the way so many times when I was reaching back onto my wheel after shifting gears. Not just once or twice, but on several occasions, my hands would naturally gravitate to that top handle, where I would feel something is off and need to readjust my hand placement, something that shouldn't be the case in any sim racing wheel. It's for this reason that I feel that if PXN stuck with just a more typical design with this steering wheel, it would probably be a far more popular product. Ultimately, other than that though, for the money and its target market, this is a very competitive offering, especially with its 300mm diameter. Now moving on to the star of the show, the PXN V99 wheelbase, where you already know I have lots to talk about. Sleek in design, it's almost identical to the PXN V10 and even resembles a direct drive wheelbase, but don't be fooled, it's not. Inside is a dual motor, gear driven mechanism that outputs up to 3 Nm of torque and comes with its own quick release system. The housing is small and sleek and comes with its own mounting plate pre-attached where its angle can be adjusted. This mounting plate will be necessary if hard mounting onto a cockpit or wheel stand, and if you don't have either, a table clamp mechanism is also included for maximum versatility. Behind the base, you'll be plugging everything in, of course making sure to plug everything onto the base if you're on console, or you can independently plug the pedals and the shifter via USB to a PC. Now taking this out on track, there's both lots of good and bad. Starting with the good, unlike the G29, the PXN V99 is silent in operation and can have its force feedback adjusted entirely from the PXN mobile app. In fact, no software is available for this space. It is entirely controlled only within the app, where the changes are noticeable, albeit limited. Prior to tinkering with the software, the wheelbase was underwhelming, but after making a few changes, there was a very noticeable difference to the point where I was actually surprised. Details in road texture, bumps, and other effects are noticeable, albeit not very pronounced, and the force feedback I found was enough to make me at least competent on track. For a wheelbase of this price, there was also a good bit of resistance, helping with the realism and immersion factor. In this sense, it felt very on par with its competitors, as it gave a force feedback experience that was enough to give the benefits to the driver, but it wasn't enough to feel truly immersive like a more expensive and capable direct drive wheelbase would. Now, in terms of what's not so good, there are also several important things to consider. For starters, the V99 has a maximum rotation of 900 degrees, this being enough for most, but not enough for those looking to mainly drift, rally, play trucking sims, etc. Talking about drifting, I also can't see this wheelbase being great for that, and the reason is because, especially compared to something like the G29, I found it to be very slow to rotate. For example, when I would crash and purposefully let go of the wheelbase was very unresponsive and slow to react, and its rotation back to the center took quite a bit. The final big negative I also found when using this wheelbase was the flex coming not from the wheel rim but from the quick release system. You see, no matter how tight I would place it on, there was always a good amount of play, which became increasingly noticeable depending on my style of racing. However, other than those things though, the overall performance of the V99 was on par to its competitors. The responsiveness was slower than I would have liked, but the detail and feedback that I did get was enough for most types of racing and expected at this price point. So all in all, my experience with the PXN V99 bundle was, considering its price and what it offers, a good one. There wasn't anything that particularly jumped out at me as special or impressive, but considering that you get this many things for the same price as Logitech and Thrustmaster's offerings is very commendable. This is only elevated considering this product's console compatibility, the fact that it can have interchangeable wheel rims, and that it does come with a clutch. On the flip side, the main advantages of Thrustmaster will be its wide ecosystem and extensive game compatibility, but Logitech will be providing tougher competition with the G29 and G920's leather-wrapped wheel, more responsive force feedback, and better quality pedals. Overall though, the PXN V99 is an extremely strong contender in that entry-level force feedback market, and one that I certainly wouldn't brush aside. With all of that said though, this has been my full review on the PXN V99. Let me know your thoughts on this product down in the comments, and as always, thank you all for watching, stay safe, and have a fantastic rest of your day.